While some of us are still digging out from the snow, spring is right around the corner. So before we get started with today's episode, I want to take a quick moment to invite you out to visit me in person in Cincinnati, Ohio, where I'll be selling candles, wax melts, and room sprays. The sales will go to benefit the Oak Hills High School Band. Just mention to me that you heard an invitation on the Darren Will podcast, and I will have a free gift for you. I hope to get to see you there. I also will include the information in the show notes. Hello, my dear. How are you? Really, how are you doing today? I'm so glad that you stopped by. Pull up a chair. I invite you to lean in. Today's episode on the Darren Will podcast, we're continuing our conversation on the attachment styles. So today we're going to be talking about dismissive avoidant attachment style. So have you ever thought, I don't need anyone, or I've got it all handled, or said, I'm fine, but what you really meant to say is, I'm not fine. I feel empty inside. And that's okay. That's okay. For many people that find themselves with the dismissive avoidant attachment style, it's not about being cold or distant or uncaring. It's about a strong need for emotional independence. It's literally a survival strategy that was developed way back in childhood as a way of coping with stress and things outside of their control. So there's no shame, but my dear, it's time to heal. Aren't you ready to heal? It's time to let go of all that old stuff. Healing, it doesn't necessarily mean losing your strength. So if you let it, healing can start as just an invitation to expand your strength. So not to take away your strength, but to expand your strength. So let's take a deep breath and let's get into it. Today, I hope you walk away with learning to understand more about yourself. I hope that you walk away learning to reconnect with your emotions. Yes, all of those emotions that you've been stuffing and suppressing. I hope that you find healthy ways to reframe and be vulnerable and find that as a way of a strength and not as a weakness. This isn't about forcing yourself to be emotionally close to others. It's about acknowledging your strength while giving yourself permission to be soft. You don't have to be hard and do it all by yourself and be the strong, independent one all day, every day. But it's about being soft and noticing and allowing yourself to be open, but to do it all on your terms, at your pace, within your comfort level. So you're not crazy. You're not broken. Your nervous system, it just learned to adapt to keep you safe. And now it's time to invite in your mind, your body, your spirit to get ready for more. More for love, more joy, more moments of soul-nourishing relationships. So rewiring our mind and our nervous system, it starts by planting little seeds and just being open. So let's start with a quick reframe. Independence does not equal strength. Can we say that one again? Independence does not equal strength. So it's true that being capable, self-sufficient, and resilient, that those are strengths. But when independence becomes the only safe option, it's a reminder that your past is becoming your present. When independence becomes the only safe option, it's a reminder that your past is becoming your present. Because in your past, you learned that being safe, it meant emotional connection wasn't reliable, it wasn't consistent. You couldn't depend on it. So you developed this dismissive avoidant attachment style through minimizing your emotions. So many times, that didn't look like trauma that screams so loud, but many times it looked like trauma that whispered. You learn to appear like you needed less, because that was the way safer option than asking or needing more. You learned that your emotions were not convenient. You learned that closeness came with loads of disappointment. So because we're wired for survival, you just adapted. And that And for that, your younger version of you, you learn to adapt just to stay safe. Instead of looking at that with shame, can we offer that younger version of yourself honor and loving kindness? You did what you needed to survive. You did what you needed to get your needs met. And that's okay. So where did it all begin? The dismissive avoidant attachment style, it often develops in environments where caregivers were emotionally unavailable. And speaking of emotionally unavailable, I have a quick resource for you. So this book, it's by Lindsay Gibson, Dr. Lindsay Gibson. So I'm not being sponsored by this author, but it's a great resource. So she writes a few different books, but this book is a quick read. So Lindsay Gibson, Dr. Lindsay Gibson, she wrote the book Self-Care for Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. So self-care for adult children of emotionally immature parents. And it talks about ways to honor your emotions, ways to nurture yourself, and ways to live with confidence. So here's a quick peek of what the book is. But yeah, it's a super quick read and they have little bitty sections. But this is something if you think about your caregivers were emotionally unavailable or your caregivers were dismissive of your feelings, if they were overwhelmed and stressed and simply unable to attune to what you needed on a consistent basis. So with all this inconsistency of emotional support, your caregivers may have misappropriated things that looked like celebrations by saying, "Oh, you're such an easy kid. Oh, you're so strong. You never need any help." Or you're so independent. I never have to worry about you. Or maybe you've heard a friend or an intimate partner say that you're so low maintenance. Let's be clear, these are not compliments. Because at the heart, these sayings, they actually dismiss the essence of who you are. Your needs, your feelings, your core truth. And it's not your needs that were being rejected because your caregivers, your friends, your intimate partner was cruel. It's that they just consistently ignored you. Consistently and quietly and repeatedly ignored what you needed, the essence of who you are, your actual being. So you learned that I'm not going to ask for help. I got it. I'll just handle it myself. So you start to put yourself back on the back burner and say that thing that I really want, nah, I don't really need that. And you just start putting yourself and self-care into things that's important to you, that you value, that's important. You start to put that in the back burner. And over time, your nervous system, it starts to notice these patterns and it starts to take over. It decides for you to save you time and emotional energy. Your nervous system decides that closeness, it costs way too much. So it creates this emotional distance because that feels way safer. And looking back, that wasn't necessarily a bad thing. That was your body's way of dealing with lack, of not having enough. And at the time, you did the best that you could. Given the circumstances, given your environment, given your caregivers. So I want you to say that again and let that sink deep into your soul. You did, so say I. So I did the best that I could. I did the best that I could. All right, let's look at core beliefs. So as we think about core beliefs are these ways of thinking that affect how we show up in different spaces. So these are the underlying belief systems and thoughts, and they drive our emotions and again our actions. So underneath the dismissive avoidant attachment style, the core belief, it sounds like I can only depend on myself because I don't have a me for me. Or needing others makes me look weak. Or it may look like emotions, they complicate things. So it's best to just keep things at surface level. Or if I stay detached, I won't get hurt and I can stay safe. But here's the painful truth, my dear, about all these core beliefs. You may deeply value connection, but you feel overwhelmed and even uncomfortable and awkward when healthy connection actually does show up for you. So let's take a moment to think about what it feels like in your mind emotionally and in your body somatically with a dismissive avoidant attachment style. Many times, this attachment style, it may carry around a heaviness, weight of like sadness or grief or loneliness. But these emotions, they can feel so far removed, like so far away, or they can feel really difficult to name. In the body, though, they can show up as like a numbness or a tightness in your chest. It could feel like your jaw clenching. So think about like your resting face. Like, what does that look like? It may look like shallow breathing. So it also can look like a sense of being like in your head. So always like talking in your head and feeling so disconnected at the same time, so disconnected from your body. These emotions may feel, again, so distant because the body has learned ways to cope by shutting down and disconnecting from those emotions. So down regulating those emotions in order to function. This emotional absence, it isn't failure, but it's emotional protection. So notice it. Just don't stay there. Your future self, it's waiting for you to get the courage to dare to heal and dare to grow. So in adult relationships, individuals with a dismissive, avoidant attachment style, it can look like discomfort. And it can also look like a pulling away from relationships to try. So what does this look like in adult relationships? So how this plays out in adult relationships is this discomfort and pulling away when relationships try to get too deep emotionally. Also, it could look like avoiding and intellectualizing your feelings instead of allowing yourself to be open to actually feel your emotions. It can also look like shutting down or withdrawing during moments of conflict. So conflict at work, conflict with your friends, with your family, or with your intimate partner. You may even try to rationalize your feelings away, but you're quietly, internally struggling. You're struggling to sit with the truth and the openness of being vulnerable. And again, there's nothing wrong with you. Your nervous system, it's just learned to value efficiency over emotional expression. And that's nothing wrong with that. And again, nothing is wrong with you. Your nervous system, it just learned to value efficiency over emotional expression. So as we get towards the end of today's episode, let's look at ways to heal. So ways to heal the relationship of patterns of dismissive, avoidant attachment style. It's not about becoming emotionally dependent. It's about learning to be open and expand your capacity. So some key areas that you can focus on can include emotional literacy, receiving support without guilt, and grieving all the unmet childhood needs without blame, none of that. But yeah, so let's break that down. So emotional literacy, what is that? So learning to name your feelings without judgment. Many adults don't really go super deep. They stay with a mad, sad, glad, happy, angry, hurt. So kind of the same things we heard in elementary school. But I want you to give yourself permission to be open, to go deeper, to share emotions. What's below the anger? What's below the sad? What's up under that? And go deeper so you can feel deeper. The next one, to heal, receive support. Be open to receive support without guilt. Allowing help without immediately, I got to return the favor, or minimizing your need. That's not healthy. Be open to receive help. So grieving your unmet childhood needs. That looks like giving yourself permission to acknowledge all of the good and all the not so good of childhood, including the needs that your younger self didn't know to ask for, the emotional connection that you didn't receive. So not to blame your caregivers or any of the people that's been in your life in the past that's hurt you. Because with blame, you're simply just rehearsing the pain over and over and over, opening up old wounds. But in order to heal, you need to acknowledge it and release it. So you need to acknowledge it and release it. If you need support or tools to help you to release the pain, you can connect with me at info@darrenwell.com for next steps. And so that's info@darrenwell.com. Your healing, it begins when you say it out loud. So allow yourself to say, I needed more. And what I needed mattered. I needed more, and what I needed mattered. So with your hand over your heart, take a deep breath and say, my needs matter. I don't have to do everything alone. I can learn to trust again. And so take a deep breath in and just release it. So deep breath in and then out. Beautiful. So as we start to wrap up, let's just recap. The dismissive avoidant attachment style, it's not about not feeling. It's about self-protection. True healing, it doesn't ask you to abandon your independence. It invites you to see vulnerability and connection as strength. If this episode resonated with you, sit with it. Allow the words to marinate in your heart and allow it to gently shift your belief systems so that you can grow and heal. You don't have to rush change. Healing comes through intentional acts of self-love and courage. I hope today that you walk away with learning to celebrate yourself, especially for showing up today. Today was a hard conversation of leaning into this different attachment style. And so celebrate that. You showed up for yourself. You showed up for younger you. And I'm so proud of you for doing that. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with someone who might need these words of encouragement. All right, that's all for today's episode. Wishing you a beautiful day, my dear. Until next time, keep living, keep loving, and keep daring well. Take care, my dear. God bless.